So again, so I assume, as your name suggests, metal is your favorite type of music.
Yes.
And were you always, like, back in high school you were into metal and all that stuff, or like what was it that kind of got you into metal?
I guess it would be Van Halen.
Okay, they were your introduction to it?
Yep.
Okay. So are you David Lee Roth? Are you like Sammy
David Lee
Hagar,
Roth? I mean, I like both, but David Lee Roth.
I mean, yeah, he's the iconic.
No, that's what
singer.
made me fall in love with it, was David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my whole entire bedroom from floor to ceiling was just David Lee Roth posters.
Really?
Everywhere. Yes.
Okay. So no Axl, or no, not Axl. Shoot. Eddie. Sorry, Eddie Van Halen.
I mean, I love Eddie.
Yeah.
Come on, Eddie.
Yeah, he's one of the most iconic
he's
guitarists
a god.
of all time.
He's a god. Like,
Yeah.
of course you love Eddie.
Mhm.
But David Lee Roth was...
Yeah, the front man always kind of gets, like, the spotlight.
And usually I like dark hair on guys, not blondes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So he was like the first blonde that just like caught my eye.
Interesting. Now thinking about it, a lot of metal, at least 80s metal bands, their lead singers, Vince Neil, Bret Michaels, had blonde hair.
Yep.
Which is interesting. So did you get into that, like, kind of the hair metal, glam metal of the 80s, like Poison and
I mean, I liked that stuff, but because I grew up in the 80s. So, I mean, that was my time period. So, I listened to all of that.
Yeah.
But my favorite stuff beyond like the Van Halen would be, I love Rats.
Okay,
and I loved Cinderella. Like, those were some of my top ones. But I liked more of like the thrash metal.
Oh, so
like Metallica, and Testament, Slayer, and Exodus, and things like that. Yeah, I like Motorhead.
I mean, granted, because
I've met Lemmy before. He's awesome.
Yeah, well, and I think Motorhead's credited as somewhat inventing the thrash genre. I think.
I don't know. I know a lot of the Bay Area bands like Testament and things like that. Like those, like Testament and Exodus and Slayer and people like that. Like they're like the they're the fathers of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's where it really all started.
Yeah. Well, and Metallica, I think, became probably the most successful just in terms of commercial success. So, because I know a lot of people don't like a lot. It's interesting. Metallica fans are interesting because you have the, I think, the 80s purists that are like only between Kill 'Em All and Injustice for All. And then once they did their Black album, their self-titled, people think that they sold out because they think they got more commercial sounding after that. But I don't know where you stand in terms of if you like their 90s stuff like Load and Reload and
I mean, I prefer their older stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't dislike them or think that they sold out or anything like that. But I mean, if we're going to talk about the music that I prefer from them, it would be those first albums.
Yeah.
Up until Injustice for All.
Yeah.
Those are my favorites. Yeah. They have some decent things here and there through, through their other stuff. I've seen them in concert.
Yeah,
I've seen them back in the day, and I've seen their recent tour. I think it was last year when they did it with Pantera.
Okay.
And they're awesome.
They're still solid?
They're still, yep.
Well, the last concert I've been to was when they did the Big Four, when it was them, Megadeth, Pantera, or Slayer and Anthrax.
I wish I could have seen that.
That was an amazing show. That was down in California.
I'm sure that's an awesome lineup. I would have loved to have gone.
I like the whole time I was like, man, if you didn't get to, because that was originally a one date event down in Coachella, and then they added a second one in Europe. But one of the coolest things about that show was at the very end, all four bands came on the stage at the same time, and they all started playing, like just playing. Like they weren't playing an actual song; they were just like jamming. You know, it was cool. Like all the drums are next to each other. All the guitarists. It was like crazy to see like Scott Ian and Kirk Hammett and Dave Mustaine, and they're all just playing shredding on the guitar and everything like that.
I wish that they would do that one again.
Hopefully,
if they did put something like that together, I would absolutely not miss this one.
No matter where it was.
Yep, I don't care where it is, I would go to it. And including if they only did it in Europe, then I would go to Europe.
Then you would go there, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's cool that they still are, that those bands can still do as good of a job because they're getting older and they're not in their 20s anymore like when they started.
They still all sound good though.
Well, and that's good.
I've seen all of them
Yeah.
in recent years.
Mhm.
They all still sound great.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, do you have any favorite concerts that you remember that you ever went to? Like that were just the coolest, really memorable experiences for you?
Well, I mean, it's funny how like, and I'm not putting anything down on anybody because I've seen, I don't even know, thousands of concerts.
Mhm.
And they're all awesome in their own ways.
Mhm.
But once you've seen Rammstein,
You've seen them?
you just have, you've never seen a live band until you've seen that one. Like they're the
Well, I've heard they have
masters
amazing stage shows.
they're the masters of a live show.
Yeah. And I remember seeing they did in the 90s there was a tour called the Family Values Tour.
Mhm.
And it had like Limp Bizkit, Korn, and then I think Rammstein was one of the performers in the first one. And I remember I had that on VHS. I had because back then they released concert like videos,
Mhm.
right? You remember those? And I remember watching the one that they had for Rammstein, and I was just, with all the fire and all the pyrotechnics they had, I was like, man, these guys are, crazy.
Well, you
for what
haven't
they're
seen
doing.
anything. They're a million times better than what you saw on that. Go pull them up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Watch some of their more recent things.
And is that something like, I don't know if you know, I mean, so is like that the lead singer? Is that like the whole band that comes up with these ideas for their stage shows?
I think they all work together as a team and do everything. I don't think there's one person that runs it.
Okay.
From what I've gathered when I've watched interviews and things like that, it seems like all 6 of them work together. Like there's not, I do this and you do this and everything's mine and stuff like that. Like when you watch their videos, all the 6 members are in every single video and like they work together like a family.
Okay. So, and has it been kind of that core group of guys, or have they had like some
same
group,
same lineup since day one?
Really?
Yep.
Wow, that's impressive, especially for being together for decades. Because I think their first album came out in like 92 or something, 93 maybe, or
like I think mid 90s, maybe 93, 94.
Yeah.
I think, I'm not sure. I can't remember.
So their show because I remember when I saw Metallica, they're amazing at what they do. They didn't have a lot of stage theatrics. I think that it was just them playing. I remember at the end of one of their shows, I think they had their stage rigged so that it collapsed as they were like kind of as this big finale. So they had like scaffolding falling but obviously it was meant to be like controlled. It's not, but that's the only thing I remember.
Well, what I remember about seeing Metallica, which was great because nobody else did that, was their stage, how it rotates.
Yeah.
So you got to see all the members throughout the whole entire evening, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had just seen them last year. Great. Awesome. They're still wonderful in concert.
And that's what I think bands have over a lot of like newer, younger artists and non-rock performers, because I've heard like bands, I think, are a lot more about that show, about the live performances. Like you notice we don't get a lot of live albums anymore for artists. Like that, I felt like that used to be kind of a cornerstone. Like my favorite Metallica album is S&M, which is a live album when they did the show in San Francisco with the San Francisco Symphony. So just because I thought, the combination of the symphony and the metal really, fused really well together.
I'll have to listen to that one. I never heard that one.
Oh, you haven't?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's
I like symphony with metal. It mixes very well. It's nice.
Because they're both
really
very
cool.
powerful sounds, I think. So they complement each other.
Yep.
So when you listen to like Master of Puppets with a symphony backing it, it just makes it sound that much more epic.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go get that one then.
Okay.